You guys know and love him, one of the most prolific comedians working right now. Put your hands together for Josh Johnson!
It's funny how sometimes people like enter your life without you ever meeting them. Like you don't get to know them, but you hear stories about this person through the people that you know or a friend of a friend, but then they just keep coming up and you feel like they're in your life, even though you've never met them. Wouldn't know them on the street if you saw them, right? There was a guy like that for me named Marty. I never met Marty. Wouldn't have been able to track him down if you gave me a 23andMe and a genealogy test or something like that. I knew Marty through stories, because Marty had an interesting life. This dude spent a bunch of time in France. He was American born, lived in France for a long time, learned French super fluently, and apparently he told one of his friends, this is how I heard the story, that he dreamed in French. Like he spoke English, obviously, and he lived in the States again, but his dreams would just be full of people speaking French at different points and stuff. And it came up because here in the US, he met someone and they fell in love, but she was French. So went all the way to France, didn't meet anybody. Came back here, met a French woman, right? And there was a day where Marty, he basically, in a nutshell, forgot his girlfriend's birthday. It was their first year together, so we're still like been dating some months, but hanging out all the time and everything. I said, my birthday, you're supposed to remember, that's part of the relationship quiz. And it kept seeming like maybe there was a surprise waiting or he was pretending to have forgotten or something. And then he went and took a nap. Yeah, not only did you forget my birthday, you napping in my face. And then I guess when she realized that he genuinely did forget, she woke him up, and she woke him up mad. And when she was mad, she'd go straight to French, right? Because she'd be so mad she wasn't putting it in English for him. And so he woke up to his girlfriend yelling at him in French. So he thought he was still dreaming. So wakes him up. Can't believe you forget my birthday. What's wrong with you? Are you out of your mind? You over here playing in my face all day? All in French. I'm paraphrasing. And then he was squinting, real tired, and was looking up at her and just wonders, I guess, to himself, am I having a dream right now? And so he casually, while she's yelling at him, puts his finger in her mouth. I don't know if you ever had somebody forget your birthday before, but you definitely have not had them put their finger in your mouth as you were letting them have it. And there was like felt like dozen funny stories like that about Marty. Marty was an interesting dude, and he just moved in different circles than me. Never met Marty or anything. But Marty got older, got married, had some kids and stuff. And then Marty got sick, and Marty had cancer. And there were some treatments that they could try, but it wasn't looking good, and his insurance wasn't gonna cover it, and he couldn't do it out of pocket, and Marty passed away. And it's crazy because one of the other things about Marty that people talked about was how he was like a good boss. It's sometimes hard to be a good boss because people don't like being bossed around. Like people don't enjoy someone telling them what to do, but somebody got to tell you what to do if we all work here. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't just show up to work and be like, you figure out whatever you feel like. nothing would get done. Like, there do need to be bosses sometimes in certain situations. It's just how you are a boss, you know? Like, there are certain managers that I've had in my life that, honestly, I had the easy job, and they still made it hell, because they were hell to be around, you know? There's nothing like having an easy job that you know is an easy job. I could do this in my sleep, but I gotta do it next to a jerk. That's the worst, you know? You know those people, got time to lean, got time to clean. And this is another thing I have to accept about bosses, I have to accept about managers. There are some jobs where genuinely, it's in the handbook, it's like part of the job. The job makes you kind of come off like, or maybe turn into a bastard. Do you know what I mean? Because there are policy handbooks of companies where if you got time to lean, you got time to clean is in the book. They just quoting. So there are some jobs where you got to be a monster to do them. And there are some jobs that make you a monster, you know? I was thinking about that when the shooting in New York happened. I know. Because for me, in case you didn't know, in case you somehow have not been on Earth, there was a shooting in New York. Basically, this dude walked up behind CEO of United Healthcare, and he shot him several times, and then he went off, right? But apparently he had been camped out there waiting. That dude walks past him. He goes, pop, 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 pop. And then he jumps on, apparently, a city bike, which is not advisable. And then he heads over to Central Park and disappeared into the night/day, because it was day. It was broad daylight, too. That's also what felt so insane about it. It happened during the day. You gotta understand, there's New York day things and New York night things. We usually keep the shootings after dark. And when it happened, it shook everything up. Everyone was obsessed. The news was obsessed. The news was obsessed when it happened. The news was like, finally, we have something to talk about that's not Trump. Oh, wow. What a day. So the news talked about it all day. The news talked about it nonstop. The news would even have people on to discuss it who clearly were just finding stuff out in the moment with us on the news. They would bring the expert on and then play the clip. And then the expert would watch the clip and be like, damn, it's like you were supposed to know, sir. That's why you're on the news. The news was absolutely obsessed, right? The news even did a thing that I've never seen before that I very much resented, because I'm just gonna be honest with you. This entire time, I'm just gonna be telling you how I feel. I'm not gonna tell you how to feel. I'm not gonna judge how anyone feels. I'm just talking about myself, right? When I saw it happen, when I saw that video footage that they played, when I saw that dude walk up and pull out a gun and point it at that CEO, I thought to myself, thank God those are white hands. Oh. When I saw those lily white hands, when I saw those pearly white hands, I thought to myself, what a white sight. What a beautiful white thing to happen that does not have anything to do with me, that should not blow back on me at all. What a white moment in America. And then in their obsession, continually, over and over again, describing what happened, going over what happened, the news did something. CBS this morning showed the clip. They showed this man walk up, pull out the gun, and they said on CBS in the morning, a light-skinned man. No. No, light skin. When has the news ever said light skin? What's next, CBS? Red bone? Light skin. I was horrified. No, you know, if it had been a black person, they would say black, because they love saying black. Anytime a black person does something, the news is like, this black. This black was last seen at the scene of the crime. You know this black. If you've seen this particular black, call this number so you can report him for his blackety-black crime. Guys, light skin. The news was obsessed with it, top to bottom. You could not watch anything else. I'm sure stuff was happening everywhere in the world, but you wouldn't know it. Just kept circling this one block in Manhattan, and people were obsessed with it. Us, were obsessed with it. It's all I heard people talking about. People who I know don't watch the news, people who I know don't really care about current events. Everybody was talking about it. Everybody was debating it on social, online. Everyone was talking about it. People were so obsessed that the backpack that the shooter was wearing sold out. Because in America, everything is an ad, including murder. People were so obsessed. You know, like those Timothy Chalamet lookalike contests they've been having in New York? A bunch of white people got together, because they knew he was white. A bunch of white people got together in the park and all dressed like the shooter and had a shooter lookalike contest. And it's been done in comedy before. I understand. It's a joke that's well worn. White people be like this. Black people be like this. But can I just say, as a black person, we have never, as black people, watched the news, seen the suspect, and then went outside specifically dressed as the suspect. We've never watched the morning, the 8 o'clock, the 10 o'clock, the midnight news and been like, oh, that's a good fit right there. Let me make sure I got it right. A red bandana. Okay, I need a red one. Right. That's just how you can tell being white is a different experience, because these white people racially profiled themselves for fun. That's just having a time. So the news was obsessed, and people were obsessed, and CEOs were obsessed. CEOs were like, what? What happened? Oh my God. Oh my God, are you serious? And they didn't know each other? Kids, he just did that in broad daylight to one of us? CEOs started making moves, man. CEOs of all the healthcare companies started taking down all of their profiles. All of their LinkedIns were just back to factory settings. And look, I need to be clear about something. I mean, you're gonna glean this off of me the entire time. I don't want anybody to die, right? I don't celebrate death in any way, right? But I will say, if you feel in the wake of this thing happening, like you have to scrub all mention of you, all knowledge of your existence off of the internet, then maybe, just maybe, take a look at how you do business, take a look at the person. Do you know what I mean? Because I've seen this thing before in a different way. Okay, so I had a buddy who, I went to his apartment for the first time, and this dude, I understand taking precautions, because that's what they will say they were doing. They were like, we don't know the motive. We don't know why this person would do this thing. We don't know who they are. We don't know if they're going to come for one of us. So we try to protect ourselves, you know, we just take everything off. And that's what this guy was doing. I went to his house for the first time, went to his place, and he had 6 locks on his door. At 6 locks, something needs to change. At 6 locks, you either need to move or change your ways, all right? Because this dude had 6 locks. He was dealing a little bit of drugs and stuff, but I was like, 6 is, come on. What are you doing? It takes you a minute and a half to open the door. I can hear it. You hear chains, you hear all stuff, you know? I was like, isn't this worse for you? You really worried somebody coming to get you? You got 6 locks. You sure you won't get killed trying to get in? But that happened, and the news was having trouble thinking of a motive. The news, they were like, why? Why would anyone? Why? Who could it be? You know? Police were having trouble coming up with a motive when they went on the news. They were like, we have no idea why this individual would do something like this. CEOs could not think of a motive. They were like, but we're us. I thought everybody loved us. Everybody wants to be us. Why would somebody come after us, right? You see it on the news. And this is also, I'm not gonna lie, this is how you can tell the news is owned by billionaires. Because the news was like this devastating, terrifying, harrowing attack in New York. And I'm not saying, look, a murder did take place. I'm not saying that it couldn't have been listed as those things. I'm just saying you're the news. Like, you are the mainstream media. You play horrific stuff all the time. You're the same news that when those pages were going off on those people in the Middle East exploding, you were like, check this out. Isn't that wild? The moment 1,000 pages went off and killed a bunch of people. You know what I mean? That same news is like, we still don't know who or why or what or how. No, police couldn't think of a motive. CEOs couldn't think of a motive. CEOs of other healthcare companies couldn't seem to think of a motive. This thing happened the same week as one of the main insurance providers was saying out loud with their full chest, we gonna stop doing anesthesia if you take too long. You better. Which, by the way, is not up to the patient. That's also one of the most insane things about that new policy they were going to try out. I've never had to administer anesthesia to myself. That's just heroin. Yeah, if your surgery takes too long, it's not like they're there, by the way. It's not like they have to wait on you in the waiting room or something. If your surgery takes too long, we're gonna charge extra to put you back under. If your surgery takes too long, we might not cover more anesthesia. What? In what world did we think you could pay for health insurance and then you wake up during, who knows, whatever serious surgery you're having, and then your doctor has to be like, hey, do you have like $650? Because if not, I know you're a little groggy, but can you understand me right now? I know you're literally open, but can you understand what I'm saying? If you don't have it, that's okay. I got a stick. We can Civil War this right now. The stick is $20 though, so it's... Couldn't think of a motive, you know? And the CEOs as well, when you look at this guy, you look at this dude, I don't think anyone was ready. I don't think the news was ready. I don't think the police were ready. I don't think the rich were ready for how, like, on the shooter's side the public was. Do you know what I mean? Like, how absolutely, unequivocally on his side. Immediate. I didn't know it had happened and there were already jokes. Do you know what I mean? Immediately. You know? The people, I'm not going to say as a whole, because I'm not going to speak for everybody, but for the most part, were on the shooter's side. They don't know the motive. They don't know why he did this thing, but they were glad that it happened. And so out of it, you get these CEOs, you get these rich people going on the news and really campaigning, being like, look, the CEO, this man was a father, this man was a husband, this man, and they really appealed to the humanity of this CEO. And there were people who heard that appeal, and they said, yeah, no, I know he was a person, so was my cousin. So was my brother, so was my sister, so was my friend. You know what I mean? This man had children. He leaves children behind. This is a senseless death. It did not have to happen. And it's like, yeah, no, I know about I know about avoidable deaths. You know, I'm a customer. I know people who have died these avoidable deaths because it took too long to get their medicine, took too long to get the treatment. Maybe it wasn't covered. Maybe they're on the phone forever. This man was a father. He was a husband. Okay, so was Marty. You know what I mean? And I think the thing that people are wrestling with, the thing that we're all trying to contend with in how we feel about this thing, because people want to feel like good people. We know that murder is wrong. We know that death is a tragedy, right? Because to me, personally, when I look at any death, when I look at any killing in that way, I personally look at it as a loss and a tragedy, because as long as someone is alive, there's potential. There's potential to turn things around. There's potential to change. And then if you lose that potential, then your story gets cut short and maybe things would have turned around. I'm not saying that they would have, but the thing that we're all wrestling with is that a murder did happen. Someone killed someone in cold blood. They just didn't kill an innocent man. Do you know what I mean? That's also what feels so conflicting about it. Like, a killer killed a killer. This dude was the CEO. A lot of people died under his watch, through his policy, through what United Health does. You know? There are a lot of people that are gone, and when you can see an act happen in real time, it's very easy to look at it, be shocked by it, and call it murder. When you can spread all of the culpability, when you can spread all of the actions across thousands of individuals and a whole system, now somehow it's nobody's fault, you know? And like you look at someone like Brian Thompson, that CEO, that dude was to himself probably, I'm assuming, just good at his job. It's his job to make the company money. I don't know what CEO, outside of maybe like a gun manufacturer, wakes up and wants people to die. Like, I don't know. I don't know what CEO wakes up. These CEOs, they work 80-hour weeks and they don't see their families and everything, but they do it because of their obsession to succeed and to build up the company, to make the company successful, to give back to the shareholders, all the reasons they come up with. And if some people die along the way, then that sort of is what it is, right? But this dude, make no mistake, he was a killer. He was such a good killer that the company was like, damn, Brian. Damn, you cold-blooded. We need to make you CEO. Wow, you don't care. You don't care at all. Women, kids, you get them all. Wow, Brian. He got promoted the way a gang member becomes a leader, you know? You're the coldest one out here. You know, it's tough. It's really tough. It's hard. It's also hard because when you talk about it or whenever you're feeling what you're feeling, you don't want to. We're all human, but you don't want to lose your humanity. You know, like you don't want to get so spiteful that you lose some of yourself. You know, and so this dude, they're looking for him, and it's hard because the people are on his side. There's literally people dressing up as him, right? And I'm not gonna lie, I feel like some of the cops were even on his side because the cops were on a manhunt for him in Central Park and they weren't looking hard. Dude, they weren't. Like, did you, if you saw the news and you saw them in Central Park, I've never seen a more lackadaisical hunt in my life. There were cops in Central Park. This is being shot. They see the camera and they know what's going on the news, and they were still like, he ain't in this bush. Where else is there to look? No. Oh. It's hard, you know? And it's also difficult because you want to have empathy for everybody if possible. You want to see every angle if possible. But this one is tough in a way because of what Brian was just a representative, by the way. That dude just is one of the dudes. Nothing changed. He's one of the dudes. And he can be one of the dudes because the system's already there. So it's not as if doing anything to him does anything to the whole, right? I mean, I will say, I do think they roll back that anesthesia thing. That did happen. Maybe they'll go through with it later, but for the time being, it seemed like they were like, ooh, okay. You know? But he's allowed to be where he is, how he is, because of the system at play. A system, by the way, who didn't care about Brian either. Let's be honest about that. You know? Because that man was headed to a meeting when he was murdered. And investors still had the meeting. That's how it works. They were getting notifications on their phone that Brian was outside, and they were like, ugh, so the minutes. How's next quarter looking? You know what I mean? That's why it's not worth it. You know? When you put like that much profit over the person, you were also lost in that thing, right? And I think that's a harrowing thing. I think for CEOs, that was like a terrifying moment because it was the first time that they saw that we see them the way they see us. Do you know what I mean? That's gotta be scary. Because for them, make no mistake, for them, we're not clients, we're not consumers, we're not customers, we're not even users. None of the names that they put in their reports, none of the things that they say to their shareholders, we're numbers, we're an account number, we're this thing. Which is why when we go away, when we disappear, when we die, it doesn't really mean anything to them. Because they never really saw us. And then the response to this shooter, this like overwhelming positive response on social, I'm not saying it was everybody, but a lot of people, it was kind of this wake-up call that we don't see them as people either. Which is, that's scary. That's a scary place to be in, you know? Because when you would see it on the news and the news described it, let's not mince words. It was a murder. The man was murdered. You know what I mean? And the news would describe it as if it was the singular event in history, this horrific crime that took place in the streets of New York in broad daylight, this harrowing attack. And I'm not saying that it wasn't. I'm just saying that the woman in the video with her coffee that got out of the way didn't spill. It was one of the most New York things I've ever seen. For someone to get shot and then a bystander be like, he ain't shooting at me. And so then they catch the shooter, right? And when they caught the shooter, I was at a coffee shop. And everyone got a notification on their phone. We weren't all talking to each other. Just different. You could see everybody was either already on their phone or pulling their phone, but I heard beeps. I heard all the little notification noises. And then in this coffee shop, I'm not even kidding, there was a collective, "Aw." Oh, that's the noise you make if the baby hippo Mudang dies. That was wild. Oh, yeah, they caught him in a McDonald's. And there was footage of him on the news later in that McDonald's eating a hash brown. And when I saw that, I was like, what? Wait, he's eating a hash brown at McDonald's. He's eating McDonald's hash brown. So it had to be before 10:30. He's eating a McDonald's hash brown, which means somebody woke up early to snitch. Damn, barely awake at 9 o'clock. I don't know. Blinking. Oh, that must be him. Let me make the call. You know? And what's even crazier about that is apparently, at least as of the time I am talking to you, it looks like that McDonald's worker that called him is not going to get the reward money. Which, wow. Is not going to get the reward money. And people were looking it up. The person was like, why wouldn't I get the reward money? Everything. Apparently, what they were told and what the internet says is like, actually, the process of collecting reward money for turning someone in is very complicated because there's an amount that has to be it has to be approved by two different bodies, and one body approved the $10,000, but when it got up to like 50, 60, it wasn't approved by both bodies. So then when they turned them in, they may not get anything at all, actually, because there's so much confusion around how much to give them or if it's the full amount. And I'm like, damn, that's kind of wild to me, because there was no confusion when they called and they were like, nigga here. So y'all coming, or? That was very straightforward. There weren't any other things you needed to check before you came and picked them up, you know? That's why they in my opinion, they did it wrong, you know? If you're gonna call and you're gonna tell people that he's here, don't call the police right away. Get your money up. Call Blue Cross Blue Shield. Call Blue Cross Blue Shield and be like, hey, I know you don't know me, but I think I might have eyes on your boy. And we don't know what he gonna do next, so what are you thinking, 50, 60? I'm just wondering how much he's worth to you, you know what I mean? Because I could make some other calls if you want. I can call a couple different people. There are about 6 providers. Y'all got a real monopoly going on, so. Okay, because he might be here, he might not. Hurry up. It looked like he leaving. I always thought it was very straightforward. You know, there's a reward out for a fugitive, and then you turn in the fugitive and you get the reward. That's how it happens in all the Westerns. You know what I mean? But then they're like, oh, no, actually, I'm the FBI and the local police have to decide on an amount, and then there's like an arbitration process and everything. It's just so funny that, like, this whole thing happened, and then them trying to get their money just sounds like an insurance claim. You know? So then they come and they catch the dude, and he has everything with him. He's got his backpack with him, gun in his backpack, 4 fake IDs and everything. And it's kind of wild because so many people, when the attack first happened, thought this dude must be an assassin. How do you get out of New York? This man was in Manhattan. He did a shooting, and now no one knows where to find him. In New York, a police state with surveillance everywhere. The man was on an island. And he got off, and they couldn't find him. He must be a genius. And then you find him at 10:02 in McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania, with hash brown crumbs all over his face. And then people went from calling him a genius, like, oh, he's so dumb. He's the dumbest man that's ever lived. Look, I think all this proves is one thing. When you read history and you look back, some of these people, because there have been individuals out there saying, you say he's a killer, I say he's a freedom fighter. There are some people that think he's a revolutionary and everything. Let's just say this. This is proof that even when you read a history book, revolutionaries were just sort of figuring it out as they went. You know what I mean? I'm sure Che Guevara had his days where he was like, y'all, I don't know. Whatever y'all want to do, I guess. They see the fake IDs, they question them, they bring them in and everything. And his name is Luigi Mangione, or Mangiani, or Mangione. There's so many different ways I've heard his name pronounced that I'm not positive the name he going by wasn't just one of those fake IDs. Like, that's the most cartoonish name I've heard in years. Luigi Mangione. It sounds like you making fun of an Italian person. Luigi already wild. He don't even go by Luigi. And they put his picture all over the news and everything, and it turns out that he is very good looking. Like, just upsettingly good looking, almost objectively in a way. Like, crazy. Everything in its right place and everything's good. Strong eyebrows with a big smile and everything, and just all the pictures. Because you know when the news catch you, when the police catch you, they try to put up some, depending on who you are. This usually happens to black people, but it happens to white people once in a while too, where they try to find the craziest picture they can of you. And I think they tried, but it was tough work because he is a good-looking individual. Every picture looked good. He would just be with model rockets, looking like a model. Like, it was crazy. They take his mug shot, and the mug shot looked like a cologne ad. Like, that was upsetting to me as a fellow man. I was like, y'all gotta get one bad pic, please. One bad picture. He was doing everything in that mug shot but biting his lip. Like, you've seen the mug shot. My man was... Mugshot's supposed to be simple. Mugshot's supposed to be your face and your profile. Your face and your profile. Your height. It's supposed to be very quick and easy, you know? This man was so good looking, they took extra mugshots. There's some that are like a little lower than him, where he looking down, like... There's some up high where he just like, you can tell, even the mugshot photographer was like, now do it like you're a bad boy. They tried so hard to get a bad picture of him that they took stills from video. They tried to take stills from video because that usually gets people. You take a still from a video and somebody was blinking weird. Okay, normally people blink with both eyes at the same time. Every once in a while, like let's say you mid-yawn or something, or you're chewing, one eye might close before the other eye. And if you catch me in this moment, I look a little off, something going on with me. And now if you tell people I killed a bunch of people, you're like, I can see it. I can see it on... That's what the other eye is hiding, is secrets. That's why it's closed like that. Okay. They tried... This man was being led to the jailhouse through what looked like a tunnel, and he getting pushed by police through a tunnel, and he's screaming. And they took stills from that, and those still looked good. Good screaming. This man's getting pushed through the tunnel, yelling back at the media, going, ah, like just... I'll show you right now. What about that was sexy? And people already thirst trapping. We thought Ted Bundy got letters. It was insane. It was very aggravating. And then every picture looked good to the point where editors and media consultants and stuff like that were like, stop putting pictures out of him. That's how good he looked. They were like, stop. You botched it. Don't put out another picture. And you could tell that the newspapers were getting aggravated because these newspapers and these media companies are owned by billionaires who are terrified right now of what's happening. And they see the public lauding this dude as a hero, and they're trying to get at least something. The cops literally had to tase this dude so he pissed himself, so he took one bad photo. But even in that one, you're like, aw. I just know that there was somebody at a newspaper flipping out going, y'all can't do your job? Y'all can't take one bad photo of this man? Everything got to be in focus? You can't even make it blurry? But I'm not gonna lie, when they caught that dude, I felt, everything started to come back up top, like surface level again, where I felt bad for a lot of different people, you know? I did feel bad for Brian Thompson's kids, because you don't pick who your daddy is, you know? And to a certain degree, I even felt bad for the shooter, because I'm like, you're 26, and you have money, something happened. Something happened. You're smart. You have your whole life ahead of you with all of this opportunity. You disappeared for some time, and now you do something happened, you know? But I felt especially bad, like really, really bad for women. Because finally there was a good-looking, rich, well-read man who has nothing to do with Hollywood, but he does murder some. So, you know what I mean? I could just see somebody trying to defend him. Just women defend their men too hard sometimes. Just like, he just did one. It was just one murder, okay? He can't even murder a little, like. You judging me because my man your man cheat, all right? How about that? Felt bad for a lot of people when it happened, when it became like surface level real again. It wasn't just this like spy crime mystery thing. It was like back down to earth with real people. I also feel very bad for anybody else who got shot that day. It's New York. A lot of people get shot in New York every day. Imagine you get shot in New York. Ow, they got me, right? And you holding it. And let's say you're an artist. So you actually do your own police sketch of your shooter. And then you hobble your way over to the police station and you put it in front, like, look, that's exactly what he looked like. I had a lot of time to draw it. Can you go looking? And then the police look at you and be like, sorry, this other thing's sort of an all hands on deck. You know? But yeah, it's tough. It's tough because, you know, there was even a lot of talk about which CEOs in this whole thing were safe. Do you know what I mean? Because like healthcare CEOs were on high alert, but I'm not gonna lie, you know, Luigi, he went to Starbucks and then he did that murder and then he hopped on a city bike and he left New York and everything. If you the CEO of Starbucks, you gotta be like, oh, thank goodness. You know, Starbucks does stuff too. Starbucks, they love that labor. They love that cheap labor. So for you to go to Starbucks before you take out a CEO, I'm not gonna lie, you might as well shot that man with an iPhone. Like, what are you doing? And then he gets found at a McDonald's. I'm sure the CEO of McDonald's is like, oh, thank God, okay. I was always good, yes. You know, the CEOs were freaking out, you know, across the board. Who would have thought? Who would have thought CEOs were family? Do you know what I mean? Like, and let's be clear about something. Don't mistake the different CEOs that commented on this, the ones that stayed scared, the ones that appealed to a different way of doing things while they keep doing everything the same way. Don't mistake their self-preservation for empathy. Right? Because those CEOs, they know. You know? And it's not even as if people hated people because they were rich. They hated a system that destroyed people's lives, you know? Because Luigi is rich. Luigi is so rich. When I found out how rich he was, that's so rich. The dude's family owns 2 country clubs. Look. Why do you think I came? This dude's family owns 2 country clubs. This is just me outside looking in. I didn't even know you could own a country club. I thought it was owned by the country. I had no idea, because usually people don't put their name on the country club they own. It's not like it's Rick's Country Club. Like, that's crazy that Luigi's family had more money than the CEO, but then the CEO comes from like humble beginnings and has more money than Luigi does personally. And so it became this whole thing where some people started turning on Luigi and then rooting for the CEO. It was odd because people got too wrapped up in the money. But for me, it's not the money specifically. It wasn't about who's rich and who has more money than who. It was about a system that destroys people's lives, you know? It was about the fact that some jobs make you a monster and there are some jobs you have to be a monster to do. You know what I mean? And so for me, I don't even care that Luigi is rich, because the people, right? The people that love that it happened, the people that didn't care that it happened, the people that just wanted some taste of revenge for how healthcare and health insurance has destroyed their life. We use healthcare and health insurance interchangeably, but I think you know what I mean, how these insurance companies take the good work of doctors, the good work of nurses, and they make it so it's inaccessible, you know? And I think that the CEOs were scared, but let's be honest, not all CEOs were scared. I'm pretty sure the CEO of Ben and Jerry slept pretty good this entire time. Yeah, like, nobody was calling for all the CEOs. Nobody wanted to get Ben or Jerry. We were both very happy with those individuals. You know? You also have a year where whistleblowers who try to stand up to power, and a system, not just like one person, right? Because that's what I think a lot of CEOs don't understand, and why a lot of news media didn't understand about how the people feel, is that there were people who tried to do things the right way. They whistle blew, hey, this company is doing this thing. It's either putting your life in danger or it's stealing from you. And then all of a sudden, 2024 seemed to be the year of whistleblowers turning up dead. You know what I mean? Look at the Boeing whistleblower. That dude turns up dead when he's supposed to testify in the thing he already risked his life to do, and you're telling me he just mysteriously died in the parking lot of his hotel room that nobody knew he was staying at? Come on now. Come on. And then my man is blowing the whistle on a bunch of stuff we already know. He's like, the door gonna fly off. We heard. And then another whistleblower dies, and another whistleblower dies. And then just today, the whistleblower that blew the whistle on OpenAI was found dead in his apartment. And so, yeah, I think that people, as in individuals just generally in the world, are scared. They're scared of what happens when you stand up to power. They're scared of what happens when you try to do what seems like the right thing, you know? And these powerful people step in and we don't know, but it looks pretty obvious what happens. And I think for me, at least to me, people, all of us, are like mirrors of each other. And right now, the mirror's like shattered a little bit. If you put up two mirrors next to each other, you make an infinite image, right? In both directions. But if you crack just one of the mirrors, you've cracked the whole infinite image, you know? And so the way that they see us, not as people, not as people who they should take care of because we are their customers, we are their consumers. We gave them money in good faith for insurance, for our health, and then you deny when I need something. I've been paying all this money. If I had just saved the money and put it aside, I might have enough myself. And now you're standing in the way of me and my health, and you don't think that there's going to be any blowback with that? You don't think anything is going to happen next? That's wild. We're in a time where you see like Josh Shapiro come up and be like, this guy was not a hero. Let me be clear. Sure, fair enough. I'm with you. All right. But you have to pass legislation. You have to get it through. And don't let a lobbyist sway you, and don't let a lobbyist sway your colleagues. You have to do something then. Because I cannot stress enough how scary it is, how much of an inevitability we're heading to. You know what I mean? If you look at history alone, all by itself, is a playbook for some people, is a cautionary tale for other people. I think a lot of the answer to what we're facing is in history. It's in Versailles. And when you read the history of Versailles, you read the history of French Revolution, it's very apparent that, you know, whether it's police, whether it's an army, guards, whatever it is, they protect the powerful, not the people. You know, and the only reason that the people won in the French Revolution, in my opinion, is because the army's guns took like a Seinfeld episode to reload. Like, say, yeah, you can probably get them up out of there real quick. Like you go to, I went to Versailles. I went there, and it is beautiful. It's a testament. It's a monument to like what people can accomplish. But it's all one man's wealth. You know, it's all for the king. But the gardens are beautiful. Inside is beautiful. The mirrors, everything. It's decadent. It's when I walked in, I was like, wow, I get how this can happen. I get how you could have everything in the world and you want to make something like this and it's still not enough. You want to add to it. You want to build more, build better. You see the king's bedroom. You see where Marie Antoinette, her, it's like you see so much. And then you walk through the thing and you also are like, oh yeah, I can also see how if you were hungry enough and you broke in here and you saw what they did, you would probably grab everybody. It doesn't make it right, but France was headed towards an inevitability. You know what I mean? And if you get on TV and you say, this is wrong, this is absolutely wrong, okay, I agree with you. But what are you gonna do now? What's the plan? Like, politicians cannot afford to do nothing. CEOs cannot afford to do nothing. And the people cannot afford to do nothing. And if the last part scares you, you might be on the wrong side of history, you know? But that's a tough thing too, because now there's a lot of people saying like, all right, you got them, but good luck finding a jury. Good luck finding a jury that wasn't hurt by Brian Thompson. Yeah, that's a tough one. Because now, to me, all Luigi has to do is show up in court and be like, y'all, I tried to call and tell him I was crazy, but they kept me on hold for so long. They kept me on hold for so long, I figured maybe I'll just go talk to him personally.
I don't know if you've been following this. Maybe not. I just realized how white this room is. I mean, it's pop culture. You probably heard about it. I mean, I don't know if you've been watching this whole Drake and Kendrick. My. What a time to be alive. All right, so Drake and Kendrick, they are rappers, sir. They're rappers. Okay, I want to make sure everybody, and I'm not acting like I know. You might bump Kendrick all the time. You might be a big Pimp a Butterfly fan. You know, I'm just checking. So, Drake and Kendrick's relationship actually goes back way further than people realize, because Drake brought Kendrick with him on tour when Kendrick was like just starting to pop, but Drake was already a big deal, right? And it seemed like they were cool. You see these old interviews, they're in pictures together, they have such nice things to say about each other, and then along the line, something changed. Something happened. And we don't know what that thing is really, but they both started to kind of like go at each other in small ways. And some people take it all the way back to the Control verse. Kendrick did a verse in a song on, it was actually a Big Sean song. Big Sean is a rapper, sir. I just want to, all of these are just names, and I want to make sure that we're all up to speed. So he did a verse on a Big Sean song called Control, but it blew up so much it became Kendrick's verse. It became the Control verse, which is crazy. And in that verse, he went at everybody. He called people out by name, you know? And he said, I got love for you all, but I'm trying to murder you. I'm trying to make sure that your fans don't even love you anymore. They love me so much. I'm coming for the crown. I'm coming for everything, right? And just about everybody thought that it was actually pretty dope. It was actually like, okay, hip-hop as a sport. Like hip-hop as, you know, a fun thing, a contest to see who's actually the best. Because everybody calls themselves the best on every song. Eventually, someone has to be the best. You know, every rapper believes that they're the best, and they say so in their music. A lot like how one city will have several First Baptist churches. When you look around, you're like, one of y'all has to actually be first, right? How can y'all even all claim to be first? This is confusing. You know? And so he releases the Control verse. Now, this is something, maybe this is where it started. It's where a lot of people say it started, but maybe it was something else. But Drake seemed to take some sort of issue with the love that Kendrick was getting for that verse, with him being called out, even though he's someone that helped, you know, Kendrick out in the beginning. But even in interviews, Kendrick explained himself. He said, like, this is a contest to see who's the best. It's all love, right? But Drake has, I'm trying to be fair. Drake has a lot of feelings, and you can tell because he has a lot of albums. And there are feelings on every one of those albums. And some people don't have several albums worth of feelings. Some people only have 4 or 5 albums worth of feelings, you know? And some people decide when to let it out, and he just lets it out on a pretty tight schedule, a pretty regimented schedule of release to let out all of his feelings, you know? And he said, he's like, I just didn't like it. It didn't feel sincere. I just didn't vibe with the whole thing. Because then I saw him later, and he was all nice to me. Yeah. He said in his interview, it was all love. It's just a contest. And then from there, they had like a weirdness. And then there's like little things. You can listen to certain songs where Drake seems to be like digging right at Kendrick, but in a way where you have to really look at it and wonder, right? Not saying his name. And then Kendrick even does a little bit of the same. But even after a little bit of this had kicked off, they still worked together one or two more times, right? Because Drake was on Good Kid, Mad City, Kendrick's album, and Kendrick was on Take Care. So there's still at least a professional relationship there to some degree, right? Fast forward a few years, and Drake's really big. And when I say really big, he's like what Bad Bunny is now, he was back then, like top in the world, right? Everybody wanted to be Drake. Everybody wanted to sing a little bit of Drake. He was #1 on Spotify. Every time he released, it was a big deal. And so some people, admittedly, were very jealous of Drake. You know, there were people who started to go at Drake a little bit. And Drake is a good writer. He may have writers that he works with. He may have... But he's also good. It's like when he's making music, everyone in the room is good. That's... I'm trying to give him his I'm trying to be objective, and y'all are trying to lean me in a way that's... But he's good, and so, you know, Meek Mill is a rapper. Sorry, Meek Mill. Because that one wasn't a name. I just want to make sure that at no point you don't think that this is like punctuation or anything, because the names are going to get weirder as I go, right? Okay. Meek Mill came at Drake, and Drake really, truly, even if you hate Drake, Drake destroyed Meek Mill. He destroyed Meek Mill so bad that Meek Mill had to go back to jail just to level out some of that street cred. Because if you remember, Meek Mill went back to jail for a while on like this weird aspect of probation that they even tried to get changed as a law. So then Meek Mill became this like face of changing incarceration and changing the criminal justice system, everything, because he had to do something else for a little while because Drake really ate him up. All right. And so more time passes, and there's still not much between Kendrick and Drake in this moment, right? And then Drake gets into it. And I want to be clear, because a lot of people sometimes feel bad for Drake in a way that I want to be clear. He does start a lot of this stuff. He does like have a little thing in a song that implies that your wife is unfaithful, and then when you come at him directly, he's like, what's with all the hate? I'm all love. It's like, no. The best way I can describe it is that Drake kind of fights like a cat. And some rappers fight like dogs. And so, you know, he'll do a little paw and he'll be like, what's the issue? And so Drake went at Pusha T, which was a true mistake. This is the thing about people like Pusha T, right? You don't want to mess with anyone who's actually had a hard life. You know, like, you know, Drake grew up in Canada, grew up with, like, it's just, this is my thing. A lot of people come at Drake for, you know, they come in at a way I don't like. They come at him in this like colorism way where he's like, you're not really black because you're half white. I don't roll with any of that. I just truly think, but you see what I'm talking about. I'm not, y'all are trying to get me to do something I'm not doing. I'm just saying it's very hard for a rapper to seem hard, right? When they have not been through what other rappers have been through. Like, it's hard to go hard when everybody knows you had health care. Because I'm not saying there aren't hardened criminals in Canada. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that if somebody knows that anytime you were sick, you could call a doctor. It just takes a little bit of the wind out of the sails of like, I'll kill you. It's like, yeah, but if I hurt you, you go to a doctor immediately. Like, so anyway, Kendrick is still off doing his thing, releasing amazing music, but Drake gets into it with Pusha T, which was a mistake because he told Pusha T, he's like, I got more money than you, I got more women than you, I'm more famous than you'll ever be. And then Pusha T said, you have a son. He released the fact that Drake had a son, which people didn't know, on a track that's cover was Drake in blackface. Everything about what Pusha T did to Drake is why you don't get involved with people like Pusha T. You're like, you know, a part of me felt bad for Drake. Drake was probably like jawing at the mouth and everything and didn't know he'd do research. It's like, you know, Drake is sitting there like, guys, I thought we were rhyming. I thought we were making music. What is this? And so anyway, now Drake perceivably takes care of his son. And, you know, whatever. And so fast forward some more, and you would think that Drake could sort of learn his lesson of like, man, I shouldn't throw stones when I might have a lot of kids. And for his part, I will say this, for his part, every time somebody comes at Drake, he does come at them pretty hard, pretty heavy. And he does release music that his fans love, and there are a lot of his fans. I'm saying that's something that I thought about going into this thing, where I was like, he always does really try to like give you something, but what he gives is twofold. Drake is usually trying to give you that sort of earworm, trying to give you that thing that takes you to a place beyond the beef. So now people will still play back to back and songs that were responses to beefs he's had in the past, just as songs to enjoy, you know? And so this year, Drake and J. Cole started, you know, they started doing appearances together. Like J. Cole would pop up at Drake's concert. And J. Cole is also someone who I genuinely believe is one of the most talented, phenomenal, musically inclined artists that I've encountered. I really enjoy his music. I don't know him as a person, and I think he's amazing, right? So he is on a couple of Drake songs after they appeared together last year, and it made me listen to those songs. I was like, oh, J. Cole, okay, you know, because I admittedly I hadn't listened to Drake in a long time because I only have a certain amount of feelings. I feel like I got pretty far. I feel like I listened to several albums, and then at a certain point, I was like, I feel grown. Like, you know? And anyway, they do a song together, and then they do a song called First Person Shooter. And in First Person Shooter, they're going back and forth about how great the era is and how great they are. And First Person Shooter is a fantastic song, right? And then J. Cole in the song says, you'll forgive me if I'm getting it wrong, but he says, maybe something like we're the top top two, three, okay. And then he was like, is it Kendrick, is it Aubrey, or me? Because we're the big three, like we started the league, but right now I feel like Muhammad Ali, right? And I guess Kendrick heard that and took it as a personal affront. I wouldn't have felt that way. Like if two people were like, man, we're the best ever, and Josh is great too, and I wasn't even there, I would be like, oh, thanks. But I'm not built like Kendrick. You know? And so then later we would also find out that apparently Drake tried to get Kendrick on that track. So he knew it was coming up and he didn't want any part of it. And then I guess he hated that he was mentioned. So then Metro Boomin and Future are rappers that... Because that could have been a label name. I'm not making fun of you at all. I'm just making sure everybody is up to speed and you're right in front of me. That's all that's happening, right? So Metro Boomin and Future, they release an album called We Don't Trust You, and on it is a track called Like That. Now, Like That is where Kendrick does essentially the control effect on this song. He does a verse that really made me forget it was a song. I don't know what anyone else said on the song, right? And on the song, he says, "Fuck the big three, it's just big me," right? Which is also, hey, I've always said I want to be the best. I've said it from day one. As soon as people started interviewing me, I said I want to be the best. As soon as people started listening to my music, I said I wanted to be the best. This is not out of character for me. This is the same thing I did 10 years ago, right? So just for me, if it were me, if I was one of them, if I was Drake and I heard "Fuck the big three, it's just big me," I also wouldn't take it as a personal affront. Because there were other things in the song where he came at Drake specifically. He didn't really have much for J. Cole. And yeah, it just sat for a while. It sat, and everybody was like, ooh, what are Drake and Cole gonna do? And then Cole was actually, I think, the first one to release. He released this song that he's since taken down called 7 Minute Drill, and he went at Kendrick in the song. And then he took it down, and a lot of people clowned him for it, but it's something that even, I'm not being a revisionist here. I said this when it happened. I was like, I respect the fact that he took it down. Because it's not something he really wanted to do. And the internet is all gas, no brakes. The internet will get you to mess up your life. Do you know what I mean? People you don't know are like, I wouldn't take that if I was you. What you gonna do? Huh? Do something, huh? Huh? People who are very safe at home, I wouldn't, if I was you, ooh, I'd go at his neck. I'd eat him alive if I was you. Do something, Jermaine, do it. Do it. And so he took it down, and he even said, he's like, I didn't feel like doing it, so it's not even good. I kind of just went at him a little bit, and it's true. In the song, he doesn't even say anything that bad. He's just like, one of your albums was boring. I won't even say which one. And then he took it down because he said, I don't know, this felt corny. And I respected the hell out of that. Very few men, grown men, famous men, powerful men, very few ever apologize. Very few ever apologize without being made to, with the threat of losing their money, losing their fame, losing something. Very few men. So I respect that. And people clowned him to no end. But then the actual beef between Drake and Kendrick started. And that was a lot. Because Drake released a song called Push Ups, and he didn't just go at Kendrick, he went at a bunch of people and, implied that Kendrick's wife was unfaithful, that his son might not be his and everything. And people are like, ooh, what's Kendrick gonna do? What's gonna happen, right? And then, he releases another song, and this song is AI. This song is Drake with the late Tupac and Snoop Dogg, and it's going at Kendrick. And some people had their feelings about that. But then, oof. On a random morning, I was, it was right about the time I was supposed to say my prayers anyway. Your morning prayers? Your thank your God for waking me up this morning, right? And Kendrick dropped a song called Euphoria. And I think when it happened, a lot of people, including me, was like, oh, this is an actual rap beef now in the way that we had in the 90s. These dudes do not like each other. And Kendrick says he hates him in the song. He says, I hate you. He said it a lot. He said, I hate you a lot. He did artistically, but he was like, ooh, I hate you. Ooh. Ooh, I hate you. Ooh, right? And, woof. It was a lot, right? And then, Drake released, actually, no, Kendrick released one. He released so many, I actually lost count. So then he released a song that I didn't even get to fully digest because he released, and then Drake released his response. And this was like what Drake had been waiting for. This was like all these, I mean, in my opinion, all these years of like, I was nice to you, and then you came at everybody, including me, and all I'm doing is writing my feelings down in albums and making money. And why, I just want to be number one. I just want to be the best with feelings. I want to be the best. And so he just took everything that he had, and he put it in a song called Family Matters, right? And 20 minutes later, Kendrick released a song called Meet the Grams, which is a real play off Family Matters. And he had said in 616 before, he was like, have you ever thought about the fact that like people in your camp are working for me, that everyone hates you so much they feed me information about you, and that there's no way that you're gonna win this because I write so many songs, because all I do is hang out with my wife and my kids and I write, right? This is all that I do. I enjoy this. This is my favorite thing to do, is just sit at home and hate you and write songs about you and how much I hate you. So I can go forever. This will never be over. We can chill. We can just go back and forth, and I'll release 20 for every one that you release. You keep saying that it's a 1v20, and it is. It's one of you, and it's 20 songs of me every single day until the both of us die. This is old black man hate. You got to understand. This doesn't happen. This doesn't happen with people under 60 almost ever. This is old. This is old. We knew each other during the civil rights movement hate that he brought to this battle. And Drake was like, guys, I thought we were rhyming. And in Meet the Grams, you know, he laid it down. He started the song by talking to Drake's son. Talking to Drake's son, being like, I'm sorry that's your father. Genuinely, I'm sorry that's your father, because I can tell he's not raising you well, because I can tell he's not living a good life and he's not a decent man, okay? And so if you don't understand this right now because you're 6, play it back when you're 18, okay? He said lots of things. He said things that are illegal. He said Drake was doing things that, you can listen to it. Woof. He even had this effect in the song. At the end of the song, when he's like, you lie, he called him a liar several times, and he's like, you lied. I was like, oh, that's too much. And he tells him about himself. He talks to his son, he talks to his dad, he talks to his mom, and then he talks to him directly, right? He also talks to, potentially, a daughter that Drake is not taking care of. Which I was listening to it, I was like, not again. I feel like once they find the first kid, you gotta just get all the kids. You gotta just have a whole Graham family, just so you know where everybody is. You know? And people go back and forth. Does he have a daughter? Does he not have a daughter? Some people think they've even found the daughter, everything like that. And I don't know. I mean, it's really bad. It's so bad. And honestly, I never wanted to get to a bad place. This is something, I'll talk about this more in the future and everything, but I have a deep love, but a strange relationship with hip hop, because if everything is in music, it's all good. It's when things leave music that things get bad, you know? And so as much as I joke about Drake and I like Kendrick and I've liked some of Drake's songs, I don't actually want them to do anything to each other. You know what I mean? Now, if what Kendrick is saying about Drake is true, we should lock Drake up. We should lock Drake up. And if what Drake is saying about Kendrick is true, we should lock Kendrick up, all right? Because, you know, it's a rap battle, two dudes that hate each other. Maybe they're lying, who knows? But I'm just saying, this thing, I didn't want to see anything bad happen to either one of them. But when Meet the Grams got released, I don't know what Drake thinks, and I don't know what his life is like, especially right now. But I think back to those battles and those beefs in the 90s, and I wonder if Drake wasn't like, I'd like to be shot, please. Like, if you could just plug me one time and then we can smooth the thing over. Because then, as if Meet the Grams wasn't enough, Kendrick released a song called Not Like Us, which is the catchiest way to call somebody a I've ever heard in my life. You be dancing to it forgetting what the song is about. Like, you know. And then Drake released The Heart Part 6. And I think that's when he lost. I think... Because in The Heart Part 6, he's like, this was all part of my plan. We fed you information about me for you to say, so everything that you said is wrong. And don't you feel dumb now that I tricked you? And it just kind of felt like, you know like what a kid, okay, you know like when you play rock, paper, scissors, and you do rock, and the other kid does scissors, and you're like, and they're like, no, actually, these are lasers. Ba-pow, 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 ba-pow. Because I was like, Drake, if it was part of your plan to feed Kendrick information about you for him to rap about very well, by the way, like even if those are lies, they do sound good and they sound very true. Even if you fed him all this information about you to rap about to then look dumb when it was wrong, why'd you send him that stuff? That's the worst stuff you could send somebody. Hey, tell him this thing about me that's not true but was true once, and tell him I'm a thing that no one wants to be. So now that it's over, because I do hope it's over, I feel like Drake should just release some songs about some feelings.
When I